Hello, welcome to my channel Psychometrics, Data Science and Career Solutions. In this video, I will explain the types of sampling. It is in a continuation to my previous video on what is population and what is sampling and why the sampling is important. So in this documentary, I will talk about the types of the sampling. Again, most of the students are confused about the types of the sampling, and because of this confusion, they choose a wrong type of sampling technique, and in this way they not only their results are not able to be generalized, and their findings are also biased. So talking about the types of sampling, we have two broader types of sampling, and the probability and the non-probability. The probability sampling technique, as its name shows, is something that is based on the theory of probability, and it is actually that technique in which a researcher chooses sampling from a large population using a method based on the theory of probability. The most critical requirement of a probability sampling is that every one in the population is known and has an equal chance of getting being selected. While the probability theory is actually a mathematical frame that allow us to analyze the chance of an event in a logical and in a sound manner. On the other side, the probability sampling, non-probability sampling on other side is the opposite to the probability sampling, and in this there are no known population, and not each and every person has the equal chance of being selected. Here, in this sampling techniques, the odd of any member being selected for a simple cannot be calculated. That is why it is called a non-probability, and it is opposite to the probability sampling. The non-probability sampling actually it does not rely on the objective judgment, rather than it relies on the subjective judgment for drawing a sample from the population, which is again not a known population. So we have these types of non-probability sampling: haphazard, the quota, the purposive, the snowball, the deviant case, and the sequential. And now, on one by one, we would talk about these sampling techniques. The haphazard, as its name shows, is actually a method which is a highly non-representative type, and it does not follow any systematic way of selecting individuals. Haphazard sampling can produce ineffective, highly unrepresentative sample, and it is not always used. It is used under special circumstances. The best example of the haphazard sampling is that in a street, a person is going to interview any person who is in the way and is chosen for a street interview. That's why this is a sampling technique which consists of highly selection bias. It suffers from the selection bias, and it gives a very unrepresentative sample. The quota sample is that sample which is actually an improvement in the haphazard sampling. And in the quota sampling, a researcher first identifies relevant categories of people, like male or female, let's suppose on gender basis or on age basis, and then decide how to get a sample from each category. So the quota sampling is that sampling which is an improvement onto the haphazard sampling, but anyhow, it is again a non-representative sampling technique. It is similar to that of stratified sampling, but again, here the population is not known. Here you can see the quota sampling. We have different categories of people, and like on the basis of gender or on the basis of the age, the people are divided, and then from each quota, the sample is drawn or people are selected. Purposive sampling is that sampling technique which is used in a special situation in which actually the expert uses judgment in selecting cases with specific objective in mind. It is also called judgmental or expert sampling because the main objective of the purposive sample is to produce a sample that can be logically assumed to be representative of the total population. The snowball sampling, as its name shows, is also called a chain or a referral sampling. In this sampling technique, the existing subjects of a study are asked to make a reference or a chain and connect the existing respondents with the rest of the respondents. That's why it is called a snowball, because like a snowball once rolls and it gather snow with itself. So in the same here snowball sampling technique, one respondent can help the researcher to identify another respondent. So here you can see a sociogram, and here one person is trying to connect with another, and another will connect with some third person, and in this way a chain is created. A deviant case is a special type of a sampling technique, and the researcher uses deviant case sampling when he or she seeks cases that differ from the dominant pattern, and that is why it is called extreme case sampling. It is similar to the purposive sampling technique, in which researcher uses a variety of techniques to locate cases with specific characteristics. However, it differs from the purposive sampling that here the goals of locating of the collection of a sample is actually unusual, different, and the particular cases that are not representative of the whole are actually selected. Here, actually, the researcher has the main focus, that is focusing on the participant which have unique characteristics. They have unique qualities. So that's why it is called extreme or deviant case sampling. On the other side, we have the probability sampling types, which is opposite to that of non-probability sampling. So, in the non-probability sampling, we have not known population, while in the probability we have the known population. That's why the sampling techniques are based on the objective judgment. So the simple random sampling technique is the most easiest and the most commonly used technique, in which individuals are chosen randomly entirely by chance in such a way that individual has the same probability of being chosen at any stage during the sampling process. So it can be done with replacement or without replacement, and this is like you just put the names of the respondents into a bucket, and then you put hand into it, and then you choose, let's suppose, 10 or 20 uh, persons, and in this way you can do the simple random sampling. The other one is the systematic sampling, and it is actually an improvement to the simple random sampling. Here we choose respondents by uh, giving a fixed sampling interval, and then according to that interval we choose respondents. For example, if we choose respondents from a local NGO which are seeking volunteers of 500 of the total population 5,000, so they can choose every 10th person in the population in a systematic way. That's why it is called systematic sampling. Here you can see uh, the problem with the systematic or cyclical data, that each person selected here is actually gender wise female, or marital status wise a wife, and no husband has been selected, so the care should be taken in applying this systematic sampling technique. Then we have stratified sampling techniques, again an improvement to the systematic sampling. Here we make strata, dividing the whole population into different strata or stratiums, and then from each strata or stratium we can choose a population depending on how much we want to choose. Then we have a cluster sampling. A cluster sampling is that type of a sampling technique which is used when we have a mutually homogeneous population, but although it's internally heterogeneous and it's geographically scattered, and here we divide the whole population into clusters, and among each cluster we make strata, and within each strata we make simple random sampling. So this cluster sampling is not directly used, rather than it is used in combination with the other sampling techniques like simple random sampling and stratified sampling. So here you can see the example of a cluster sampling. Suppose we want to draw a sample of 240 people in a location, and then this location has actually 55 districts. So within these 55 districts, we randomly select 6 districts, and then within each districts we randomly select the blocks, and then within each block we randomly select the households, and at the end we select respondents from each house. So this is like a multi-stage sampling technique most widely used in a population that is geographically scattered. It is homogeneous but although internally heterogeneous and a scattered population. So that was about the types of the sampling techniques. I have tried to explain or elaborate these in a short time, although these terminologies and these types are complex and it requires a lot of knowledge and skills. That is why the researcher need to study these concepts and terminology and practically do it. And in this way, they can learn how to do sampling and they can understand the types of sampling. See you in another video on some other important